the end. You're near the end. Okay, page Kuf base. We made it up, I think, to the top. I'm going to finish at 8:25 today. Okay. I know I'm supposed to finish at 8:30, and I never do, so I'll do tshuva for all those days that I don't. So I'll finish 5 minutes early. Okay. So we're answering the question that we asked after explaining everything in the mind. What Baruch Hashem, our mind is still up on the board. Okay. So we learned there's 3 different levels in Hanukkah. Chav Daled, Chav Hei, Chav Vav. The Milchama, finding the Parach Shemen, and the miracle of 8 days. Those relate to 3 different levels of Achdus Hashem. Yichud Tata, Yichud Ilah, and Efes Zulasai. Right? And we have to know what all this means now. This is not, right? This is all review and should be as clear as a bell to all of us. Okay? Right? It's all up on the board there. Right? Okay? So we have, and that related to Baruch Shem Kavod, which is Yichud Tata, 24 letters. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu, which is 25 letters, that's Yichud Ilah. And the level beyond, which is actually 26, Shem Havaya, and that we said, once we said Pshat in Shema Yisrael, that's actually the first Shem Havaya. The first Shem Havaya is Shema Elokeinu, which is the level completely beyond, not shaykh to the world in any way, shape, or form. The second is Havaya Echad, what should it say, or what could it say? Instead of Havaya Echad, you should know this. Instead of saying Hashem Echad, what could it say? Hashem Yechid, right? The only, as opposed to one. One indicates that there's an existence of another. Now, there isn't really an existence of another, but it's one which is negating the existence of another. Okay, that means there's something that has to be negated. So that's the world. Okay, Yichud Tata is the level of experiencing the world and experiencing myself, but realizing that's all about serving God. Yichud Ilah is realizing that ultimately the world doesn't exist. Efes Zulasa is there's no world to talk about that doesn't exist. What are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Right? Okay. Did I cover all of them there? I think so, right? There's that's all the 6 different things that we saw. Yes. Okay. So our question was, why? So we still have the outstanding question: why do we not celebrate Hanukkah on Chav Daled, the miracle of the war? That question has not been answered. But once we explained all this, we asked another question. What was the question we asked? Who remembers the question we asked? Once we've explained that Hanukkah is Chav Daled, Chav Hei, Chav Vav, which is Yichud Tata, Yichud Ilah, and then we'll call it Etzim, right? The Efes Zulasai. The 8th level, completely beyond the natural order. Right, which is why it's an 8-day holiday. So then what question arose?
Why don't we celebrate it?
No, that was our question right at the beginning. You're right about that. There was such a question, but we already said that. That question is going to be answered later. Why do we not celebrate on Chav Daled, which is the victory in the war? Based on the position that that's one of the things we celebrate. Right? Of course, we knew that there was that disagreement in Chazal and in Chassidus. Okay. We shine in Chassidus. Okay. But what was our question that we were in the middle of? See, if we don't do review, and I know it's hard to do review in Hanukkah because you're out and you're about and you're doing mitzvahim and the okay, everything. So now you have an excuse not to do review, but no one does review anyway, even when there isn't an excuse called Hanukkah. So, I can explain to you why you don't remember what we're doing because you're not doing review. You will not remember this if you don't do review. Right? It just will go in and go out. It'll be nice ideas, but if someone asks you what you learned in Chassidus, you can tell them the name of the mimer, and they'll ask you what was the mimer about. You'll probably say 24, 25, 26, and I don't know how much further you'll get if you don't review. If you do review, we'll explain the whole thing. Then we asked the question. What was our question? What's Hanukkah really all about? Every mimer Chassidus, when it talks about Hanukkah, the mimer that we learned, Tana Rabbanan, Ner Mitzvahs Hanukkah, what Mitzvahs Ner Hanukkah, what's Hanukkah really all about? Okay, yeah, but more than that. What you're saying is true. I can't say it's not true, but that's not the answer to my question. We've asked this question such that we're in the middle of the mind. We're trying to explain the answer. So you have to remember where we are. At least make yourself notes on the side of the page. Question being answered, something. What was our question? I'm going to sit and enjoy my coffee, and you guys are going to stew in this for a while.
miracle, the fact that it went above reality and it was the oil didn't burn at all.
That's true. That's a very important part of Hanukkah. There's no question. And we have to understand why it is we celebrate the 25th and not the 24th or the 26th. That's true. I agree with that. Given. But there's another question on the board right now. We're in the middle of in our mimer. Right? Not that question. That is a question. That's a good question. The Rebbe asked that question. There's another issue. When we discuss Hanukkah, when we explain Hanukkah, al pi Chassidus, what's the underlying principle of the whole holiday? It's all coming from the essence of the soul. It's all a revelation of Yechidah B'Nefesh. Right? That's we talked about this at length, a little bit on Wednesday and a lot on Thursday. Right? Okay? That it's all coming from Etzem and Neshama. Why did the Chashmonaim go to war?
Because of the spiritual defilement of the people by the Greeks and trying to erase the
Why did the Chashmonaim go to war?
They just didn't think, they just did it.
Okay, where'd that come from? What?
Here they are.
Okay, well, how do we say that in Chassidus? What you're saying? Mesiras Nefesh, beautiful. And where's that Mesiras Nefesh come from?
The highest level.
The highest level, beautiful. Okay, isn't that true? I mean, that's what we say about Hanukkah. It's all about that. We said that in the Mimer. So then, what problem now arises that we have to explain?
Why don't we celebrate the war instead of the...
Okay, there's that too. But I mean, what did we explain throughout this whole Mimer? 3 different levels being revealed by 3 different aspects of Hanukkah, right? Even the war, ultimately, what level of reality was revealed by virtue of going to war and ultimately being victorious? You guys just told me. What? The essence of our soul, right? The only reason we went to war was this incredible Mesiras Nefesh that's coming from Yechidah B'Nefesh. And these words have to mean something, right? I can keep translating them into English. Right? But then you don't know what they are, right? Because you're going to run into them in a mimer, and it's not going to say the English word in the mimer, it's going to say the real word in the mimer, right? So Yechidah B'Nefesh, we know what that is. That point in the soul, the unique level of our soul that is completely and essentially connected to a Kadosh Baruch. That's Yechidah B'Nefesh. The place where there is no opposition. We talked about that at length on Thursday. Okay, so that place in reality is the source of the war also. The only reason they went to war was because they were overcome by an incredible arousal of the essence of their soul, and they said, Azoy v'nit andresh, we will not accept anything other than staying completely and totally connected to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, no compromise, nothing. We are going to battle these Greeks. So the war seems to be a revelation of the 3rd level. So why are we saying the war is the 1st level? Yehuda Tata. That was the question the Rebbe asked. So we're going to have to go over the answer again because we saw the answer on Thursday. But if we don't know the question, then we can't very well understand the answer. So we'll go over it again. It's an amazing answer. Right? And we talked about the difference between the Chashmonaim and the Alter Rebbe in jail. Right? Alter Rebbe in jail, there was no menagid. There was no opposition. It was there, not for him. For the Hasidim it was there. The Hasidim were suffering. Right? But the Alter Rebbe... Frierdiker Rebbe in jail in Soviet Union. The Alter Rebbe was the Tsar. Frierdiker Rebbe was the Soviet Union. What did Frierdiker Rebbe say? These people don't exist. Everything they tell me to do, I'll do the opposite. They told him to sit, he'd stand. They told him to stand, he'd sit. They told him to turn right, he'd turn left. They told him to turn left, he'd turn right. Everything they did, they said, he did the opposite. Why? He said they don't exist. They have no Metzias. They were beating him up. They made long-lasting effects on his physical health. Okay. But he said his relationship to them was they don't exist. It was an avodah, but that's how he related to it. That's not how there's a certain battle there. There's no doubt about it. Okay, but his relationship to the battle was they don't exist. The Hashmonaim, their relationship to the battle wasn't that the Greeks don't exist. Right? You have to figure out, I mean, I assume, we talked about this on Thursday, I assume they're planning how to fight the war, and there's Greeks, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to have to do this and do that, and we'll hide over here, and they'll hide over there, and we'll shoot them here, and we'll shoot them there, I assume. Right? I mean, I can't imagine they just walked out in the middle of the street in red coats and everybody fell down. Right? There were people who thought that might be a way to fight, but it didn't work so well. Okay. A friend of mine was in Lebanon in 1982, in Beirut. So we were controlling Beirut. So then they decided that some UN forces would come into Beirut. Fine. So he said there they were, pretty dirty, pretty battle-worn. He was in a tank in the Hippodrome in the middle of Beirut. So the UN forces came in, so there was a little quiet, so they could sort of look around, see what's happening. So he said the Italians came, these beautiful white uniforms, with helmets with a big plume on the back of the helmet. They were dressed to kill the Italians. Man, they looked so good. These Israelis were filthy, dirty, and they've been fighting for weeks. They just burst out. They said, "Look at this. This is serious." So, whatever. We know what happened. The Italians didn't help make peace in Lebanon, but their uniforms, phew, they were beautiful. Probably some guy with an Italian name designed them. Gucci, something. Right? Okay. So that's not a serious battle. But the battle against the Hashmonaim was a serious battle. It was a war. Oh, so what did the Rebbe explain to us so far? We'll see part of it again. Again, what's our question? Our question is as follows. We've just explained beautifully these three different levels of Hanukkah. Absolutely amazing. Chavdal, Chavhei, Chavav. And that these three levels relate to three different levels in the unity of Hashem. The lower level unity, upper level unity, and Einoid Milvadei. There's nothing else. It's not a matter of unity. There's just the Eibishter. Okay. Efes Zulasa was the language the Rebbe used in the Maimon. There's nothing else. Okay. So lower level unity, that's called Yehuda Tata. Upper level unity, Yehuda Ilah. So that's a beautiful explanation. However, there's a problem. When we talk about Hanukkah, what do we say about Hanukkah? We say Hanukkah is a revelation of Yechidush B'Nefesh, and that's why the holiday's 8 days, and that's why it's a level that's beyond the world, and therefore it's a level of light that's so powerful that it can illuminate the dark, and therefore we light at night, and we light on the left side of the right. All of this, we know all of this about Hanukkah, right? We've heard it. So how can we possibly say that Hanukkah encompasses within it these three different levels of the unity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when really Hanukkah is all about Einad Mavadai? It's all about the third level. That's what it's about. It's about the eighth level, 8 days beyond nature. Nature is 7. Right? Completely and totally beyond nature. Not beyond even the level of godliness that powers nature. Yud Kei Vav Kei. Havaya, there's one of the ones that we forgot. Havaya de Latata and Havaya de Laela. And the first level was Shem Elokim. Right? 3 different names of Hashem. Shem Elokim, that's Yehuda Tata. Shem Havaya, that's Yehuda Ilah. Havaya de Laela, that's Efes Zulasa. Right? 6 different ways in which we differentiate between those 3 levels. And yet, the Rebbe asks, wait a minute, Hanukkah is all the 3rd level. Why are we talking about these 3 different levels in Hanukkah? Hanukkah is all the revelation of the 3rd level, and perhaps the single most powerful revelation of the Mesiris Nefesh that comes from the essence of the soul, that place where a Jew says there is no opposition, and it's impossible to do anything but serve God. The most powerful expression of that is the war. So we said that's Yehuda Tata. Yehuda Tata, that's Efes Zulasa, that's the highest level. That was the Rebbe's question. Yeah, is that clear, that question? I apologize for not explaining it clearly enough so that everybody got it. Now it's clear? You're going to remember it when I ask you tomorrow? Not if you didn't write it down. Of course you're not going to remember it, so why even bother? But okay, I'll bother because I get paid big bucks to bother. Okay. I hate to be obnoxious, but I'm going to be obnoxious. I'm from the old school. The old school, when you learned something, you were actually expected to understand it. There was such an idea. And then if you had a test, you were supposed to answer the questions on a test. And if you didn't, you failed. And if you failed, you had to do it again. That's what it used to be. It isn't anymore. So no one learns anything. So Vivek, whatever his last name is, and Elon Musk are getting in trouble because they want to import intelligence from India for their what do they call, the computer stuff, whatever. And they're getting a pushback, which is really interesting. Who's pushing back? The pushback is coming from people who say, we want Americans to work. And they say, I'd love Americans to work, but there aren't any Americans who are qualified to do the work that we want done. There aren't enough Americans qualified. So we want to bring in qualified people from India who will immigrate legally and have jobs. Someone told me this, who was a big left-winger, and I didn't believe him. I thought, come on, you're just reading the left-wing news and you're making up this fight just to make the right-wing look bad. But evidently not. I actually read it somewhere else. That there was not a left-wing publication, and in that right-wing publication, they were talking about the fact that there's people on the right in America who are upset that these two guys are talking about bringing in lots of people from India who can actually do the work necessary to make things happen in America. So they're asked, why not Americans? That they're not educated. Now, there are lots that are. There are lots and lots that are.
And they want too much money.
Oh, yeah, okay. That could also be, I don't
They
know.
just want the visa.
Okay, I didn't see.
Cash.
Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't see that part. Okay. Seder?
See?
Okay. I mean, in all fairness, those people who come from somewhere else for the first year might not want more money, but I mean, they'll figure it out pretty quickly that there's money around and they
That's
might.
why you need the next group.
You can just keep bringing. Okay.
And you have to train them too.
Okay.
Highly educated.
Okay. These things people are educated about and things people aren't educated about. Okay. But it is true that and that's Hanukkah, right? Hanukkah is Miloshen Chinuch, education. We have to remember what we learn. If we don't remember it, how do we remember it? Well, write it down. Sit with a chavrusa, ask each other questions about it, write down your answers. It works. Okay, so now let's see what the Rebbe says. We have to answer the question again, and I apologize, we're going back over what we did, but we have to know what we did. Right, so I'm going to read the beginning quickly. We're on Hey again. I'm going to read quickly. I'm sorry, I said I was going to read more slowly, but this one I'm reading quickly because I want to get through it because we saw it already. Based on that, which is explained in the Mimer. Through the Mesiris Nefesh of Matasyahu Bonav, we drew down a level of light that was beyond the natural order. Havaya de La'ela. Yesh Leimar. Shagam Shorish Hanes the Nitzochan HaMilchama. Also the true root, Shorish, root, source of the miracle, of the victory in the war, who Bahavaya de La'ela is from a level of Havaya de La'ela, Shalamayla Mishtashlus is beyond the Ishtashlus, right? The third level. There was Elokim, Havaya de Latata, and Havaya de La'ela. Havaya de La'ela was basically essence. Basically. Okay? Sometimes you'll see them differentiated. In this matter, the Rebbe is not really differentiating between the two. Ki, HaMesiris Nefesh al Matasyahu Bonav, their self-sacrifice, Haisa was Shagam, that even though Shayu Chaloshim U'Ma'atim, even though they were weak and few, Mikol Makim, nevertheless, Lachamu Neged Gibarim V'Rabim, they fought against the strong and the many. V'Kaven Shal Yedei Mesiris Nefesh Alehem, and since it was through their Mesiris Nefesh, as a result of their Mesiris Nefesh, which was Lamayla Mishtal Shlushah Ba'adam, beyond the natural order of a person, they touched their essence, even though we're talking about the war, which is Chaf Daled. They are the reason that was drawn down this light, this level of light, completely beyond the natural order. Move on from all of that, it's understood. And this is how we explain Hanukkah in every mimer. The fact that you, God, put strong in the hands of the weak, many in the hands of the few, which we say in Alanisim. This was drawn down through their Mesiris Nefesh. This is the highest level. So, don't get it. That we said there's 3 different levels, and only the third miracle was really a true expression of Havaya de La'ela, of the highest level. And now we're saying, no, That it's all, and even the war, which is the lowest level, so to speak.
So this is the question that we're answering.
Yeah,
How is the war? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so but the Rebbe is going to answer it. V'zeh shemavur b'maimer, and that which the Rebbe, now here's where the answer actually begins in earnest. V'zeh shemavur b'maimer, and that which it's explained in the maimer. The maimer we're learning. Hu v'le'il siv gimel. It's brought earlier in chapter 3. Sharak hanes da haspakas hashemen, that only the nace of the oil lasting shmeina yamim, 8 days, ninshach, only that was drawn mihavaya delayla. That's the third level in our beautiful scheme here. It's amazing what the Rebbe taught us about Hanukkah. But only the third level was this level of Mesiris, of I won't say Mesiris Nefesh, because that was the first. It was only the third level was this level of Havaya de La'ela, the higher level of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Right? 2 levels of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, the light that's the source of the worlds, and a level completely and totally transcendent of the worlds. Right? Yes, God, I mean, and again, to get this straight in our heads, it's not a difficult idea. I mean, they're new ideas, so they're hard to keep straight. I get it. But if you think about it intuitively, yes, God created the world. That is true. And that means there's certain aspects of godliness that were revealed in the context of creating the world. No question. But God's completely transcendent of just being the creator of the world. That's not the only thing on his CV. Right? There's a lot more happening in godly reality than just creating this world. Because if you say the only thing God did was create this world, then that means God exists because of you. No, you exist because of him. He doesn't exist because of you. Right? And we don't have to prove God by virtue. I mean, one of the ways we do talk about the existence of the Eibishter to people who aren't sensitive to that is relative to the existence of the world, but ultimately that's just the very, very beginning of that discussion. And as we go on, obviously, we hope people will have a much more sophisticated and transcendent understanding of God. It's not just that he created the world. He's, the greatest engineer ever. He is that, but he's so much more than that. And what do Chazal say, and we've quoted it a number of times, that the whole world, all of time and all of space is one thought in God's life. It's all that. What else is he? There's a lot happening up there. Okay. What's he doing? I don't know. Right? What else is he thinking about? I don't know. Right? That's not our issue. But is he bigger than simply being the creator of the world? Yes. Therefore, you and I can discuss different levels of godly reality, the levels of godly reality that are responsible for and revealed within the context of creation. But then other completely transcendent levels of godly reality have nothing to do with creating of the world. Okay? There are parts of me that have absolutely nothing to do with picking up that cup. Nothing. If I did pick up the cup or didn't pick up the cup, it would make absolutely no difference whatsoever to most of my being. No difference whatsoever. Ani avaya lo shenisi. Pasuk in Malachi that's quoted in Chassidus a lot. I, God, didn't change. Meaning the creation of the world did not bring about any change in me or in my relationship to anything else. In other words, it's not like now there's me. First it was only me and now there's other stuff. No, there's still ultimately no other stuff. There's just me. Because what's that other stuff? It's also just me. That's Yehudi law. Right? And even in the context of understanding the existence of that stuff, you realize that stuff is only there to serve you. That's Yehuda Tata. Okay. But we're going to see very clearly, the whole purpose of Yehuda Tata is to come to a level of Yehudi law. Right? Yes, interesting enough, we start Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu, the highest level. Now also Hashem Echad, a lower level. Also Baruch Shem Kvod Malchus Eliam Boy. In Shema Yisrael, we start at the top and go down, which is really very interesting. You'd think we'd start at the bottom and go up. All right, no, Shema Yisrael, we start with the absolute truth. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu. Ein od milvado, ever zulasim. It's just him. Hashem Echad, he's also the source of the vitality of the world, such that the world is really all just him. It's just an expression of him. Baruch Shem Kavod, but there is a world, and in that world, you and I have to serve him. It's interesting we start from the top and go down. Right? And that's one of the chidushim. I mean, it's not a chidush of the Rebbe here. It's in Kriya Shema. Obviously, that's how Moshe Rabbeinu understood reality, and when Chazal added Baruch Shem Kavod, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't say Baruch Shem Kavod, right? It's not in the Torah. That level of reality isn't in the Torah, right? The Torah is Delukus, okay? But the Chazal came along and said, well, say quietly, shh. As embarrassing as it is, we still appreciate our own existence and experience our own existence. We don't make a big deal about this because it's embarrassing, but we, even down here, where we're very aware of ourselves, we realize that it's really all about Him. Right? But we don't want to make such a big show that we're aware of the fact that we're so aware of ourselves. It's a little embarrassing. Right? The mashal brought in Kabbalah is it's quoted by the Ramban that the princess, after they make the cake or whatever, so the princess licks the side of the bowl, but she does it quietly. She's embarrassed, but it's very good. It's wild emotion. Okay, so then it's all about Mesiras Nefesh. So then why did we talk about three different levels? So let's see. Only the last miracle is drawn from the highest level. But that's not true. Even the level of the Milchama was also drawn from that. Mesiras Nefesh of the Chashmonaim to go fight. And again, that's the most amazing expression of Mesiras Nefesh in the whole story. Mashein Kain, that's not the case. We said that miracle, that's Yehuda Tatah. And also the miracle of finding the Pach Hashem, we said that was Yehuda Ilah. So therefore, they're all part of a reality of the natural order. The godliness in the natural order, I get it. Or how the whole natural order is godliness, I get that too. But it's still not the level of completely, the level that is completely and totally transcendent. Yesh Lemar, meaning I'm about to answer the question. Shebenisim elu, in these miracles, hamshocha haisa, the drawing down of godliness, haisa belevushim dishtalshlus. It happened. It revealed itself in the world within the context of the existence of the world. The third miracle is completely and totally transcendent and can't be explained in any way, shape, or form in worldly terms. Completely destroys the whole reality of nature. The other two have some clothing in nature. Miraculous, but in nature. Meaning, it's not just that the Chashmonaim sat in shul and said psukim and the Greeks all died. It's not what happened. What was the lavush of it? What was the garment of it? They didn't go out and fight a war. It was all, the garment was Yehuda Tatah. The garment was, there is a world, there is a Greek, I have to go beat him up. There is a world, there is a Nefesh Bahamis, and I have to go deal with him in a Veata. So that's the lavush of it all. What's the driving force behind everything that's happening? The essence of the soul and the essence of God. But how's it being expressed in the world? In very worldly terms. The third miracle is not expressed in the world in worldly terms at all. It's a complete destruction of everything you and I would call the natural order. I mean, they have the oil lasting 8 days. This can't be. Okay. The first two miracles, the one that's most easily understood is the war. They had to go fight a war. And there's an enemy, and we fought the enemy, and we had to deal with him. I'd imagine it might even be that someone got hurt. You never hear about anybody getting killed. But it might be, who knows, someone might have gotten hurt, someone might have fallen down while they were running after a Greek they wanted to kill, I don't know, bruised his knee. I mean, I can't imagine nothing happened to anybody. Right? Something must have happened. Why? Because you're, battling this rather serious force in the world. And another aspect of it that's very important, even after you win, what could theoretically happen?
Eventually come back and defeat.
You could start fighting again at some point, right? But you beat the Greeks on the 24th. You done with the Greeks? Well, they're still around. They're just over there, like the ones here, right? Okay. So we won the battle. We might have even won the war on a certain level, but that doesn't mean there's not going to be another war. Right? Okay. Could happen that there'll be another war. It might take a while. It might take a while for them to rearm and, I mean, the Greeks, in all fairness, the Greeks, if they wanted to keep battling, so just send another few battalions there to Israel. It's not like we wiped out all the Greeks. We didn't go to Athens and wipe out the Greek Empire. They were still around. We just beat their proxies here, right? Okay. In modern day terms, as long as Iran is strong, wiping out Hamas and wiping out Hezbollah is wonderful, but it doesn't, in the long term, doesn't mean very much, does it? Right? Because they'll just do it again, right, with someone else. That's why it's so important that they disappear. Right? I mean, in their present form. Right? Okay. Just same thing. So that's how war works. Right? Everybody, even if you sign an armistice or a peace treaty, right? So, the people can go back, lick their wounds, and then, armed to fight another day. That's the nature of a war. So that's Yehuda Tata. That's the battle. You beat your Nefesh Bahamis. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Guess what? He didn't go anywhere. He's still there. It's not that he's not going to nudge you in another 2 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour, whenever it happens to be, right? Or tomorrow, if it happens to be Yom Kippur. Okay, so it might be a little quieter on Yom Kippur. He's so quiet on Yom Kippur that you can actually say Baruch Shem out loud, because you can be in the world and proud of being in the world and not bothered by the world. So you don't have to whisper Baruch Shem. Say it loudly. Because even in the Yehuda Tata, the light of Yehuda Ilah shines into the light of Yehuda Tata on Yom Kippur. It's a special day. It's a day of the revelation of Etzem, the essence of your soul, which is why there's 5 tefillas on Yom Kippur. Usually we daven 3 times a day, which relate to the 3 levels of soul that are clothed in the body, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama. On special days, there's a neshama yeseda, a higher level of neshama that's revealed. Right? What's that? That's the 4th level of davening. That's musaf. That corresponds to the 4th level of the soul, chaya shebenefesh, which we had on the board. Right? The 5th level of nefesh, yechida shebenefesh. What day of the year is that revealed? 1 day a year, and that's Yom Kippur. And that's why we daven 5 tefillas on Yom Kippur. That's revealed on that day, that level, and that not just in the Ila most powerfully, which is the most powerful tefillah, but it's a day of 5 tefillahs, so the whole day is a day of revelation of the essence of the soul, which is why your soul is cleansed. Your soul is completely cleansed, not because of the tshuva that you do. That doesn't mean you don't have to do tshuva. There's a machlokes whether or not you have to do tshuva on Yom Kippur in order to be granted atonement. It's a machlokes tanoim, Rabbi and the Chachamim. Rabbi holds you don't have to do tshuva on Yom Kippur in order to be atoned. The Chachamim hold that you do have to do tshuva on Yom Kippur in order to be atoned. Okay, but they both agree that the atonement that you reach is not commensurate to your tshuva. Because if it were, then I don't need Yom Kippur. Just do tshuva, any day. I don't need Yom Kippur. So obviously the atonement that we achieve on Yom Kippur is much greater than the tshuva we're doing. Because again, I can do tshuva any day. Okay, maybe it's easier on Yom Kippur Peseder, so a person works a little harder and does tshuva. Rabbi holds you don't even have to do tshuva in order to be atoned for in Yom Kippur. Why? Because etzem hayom mechaper. The essence of the day is mechaper, meaning what? A level. Now that according we paskin that you have to do tshuva. How do you access the etzem of the day? By doing tshuva. How do you access the essence of the day? You have to do tshuva. That's how we paskin. Not like Rebbe, like Chachamim. Okay, but what? What are you accessing? A level where there's no avera, the essence of your soul. There's no avera there. It's like tissue that isn't affected by the disease. It's just healthy tissue. It wasn't affected by whatever else might be affecting part of your body. So that tissue now spreads out and affects all the diseased tissue, so your whole body is completely healthy again. That's Etzem and Neshama being revealed on Yom Kippur. So we're all in a state of complete health. It's amazing. Okay. So that's Etzem, and that's what Etzem and Neshama is. That's what it's all about. That's what was revealed to win the war. But the war itself was an expression of Yehuda Tata, because there was an enemy there. And even once we vanquished the enemy could show up again later. Now we have to be happy for the victory. But we also have to realize that it's possible that it's going to be ultimately one of the reasons why we don't celebrate Haftarah, right? Happy for the victory, but Yehuda Tata, there's no reason to celebrate because the war is not over. Right? Yehudi Lo, wow. Now we reach a level where, on a certain level, there's the enemy has been vanquished. So the lavush, the garment, the expression of it all was in the context of nature. And that's what the Rebbe says. So therefore, it's really relevant to Yehuda Tata. Rabbi Groner used to tell a story about that, just battles, winning and losing battles. Rabbi Groner, Label Groner from New York, the Rebbe's secretary. He was a bacher, so Rav Avram Paris, a famous chassid, such an interesting guy. Rav Avram Paris was always someone we had heard of, but it ended up that two of our children married his great-grandchildren from two completely different sides. It's really interesting. Like our two sons became second or third cousins something because of their wives. But Avram Paris was a very, very special chassid, very famous chassid. And his son Levi Paris, also a very well-known chassid. But Avram Paris was a chassid of the Rebbe Shab, Frierdiker Rebbe, and our Rebbe. So he remembers Avram Paris used to bring with them when they were bacher. Now Rabbi Groner was a bacher. Rabbi Groner got married before the Rebbe became Rebbe. Got married in the time of the Frierdiker Rebbe. So this is in the times of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And Avram Paris was bringing with them in New York. And something he evidently said this a lot, meaning this was something that he used to really talk to the Bachrim about. He used to say to them, you have a taiva, and this taiva is bothering you, and you're overcoming the taiva, and you're not doing what this taiva wants you to do. And finally, after an hour, you end up doing it, and you feel bad. You're such a loser. You lost. So Avram Paris used to say to them, you just, excuse my language, okay, I'm just saying what he said, you're just being misnagdim. A chassid understands what? I won for 59 minutes. I beat my Yetzer Hara for 59 minutes. He won in the 60th minute, but I beat him for 59 minutes. Think about that also. Don't just think about the fact that you lost, also think about the fact that you won for 59. And that's not an excuse to lose in the 60th minute. That doesn't give you the right to lose in the 60th. You have to win the 60th minute also. But don't say that you didn't win for 59 minutes. You won for 59 minutes. It's a very powerful lesson. Now, a person can take that lesson and turn it into shtus and say, oh, so I'll just do every favor I want, but I won for 59 minutes and then I did the favor. No, that's not what he's saying, obviously. Right, a person can use it that way. Okay, fine. Well, what are you going to do? That's why some people say don't teach anything sophisticated to anybody because they'll turn it into nonsense. Well, Hasidim don't believe that. We can learn sophisticated things and still hopefully put it in the right place and not turn it into an excuse for silliness. Right? Okay. But amazing. That's Rabbi Gon used to talk about that a lot. But that's what they, as Bachrin, that's what Avram Paris used to teach them. He wasn't there mashpia, but he would come in for brain because he was a special chassid, and when he was around, he'd for brain. Way before his time, Avram Paris flew over Eretz Yisrael and dropped leaflets. This is in the 50s, 60s. He dropped leaflets all over Eretz Yisrael that Mashiach is coming. Get ready, Mashiach is coming. He was a wild guy. So what's the levush? The levush was nature. What was really happening? The essence of the soul. Right. Now we learned that in Pada B'Shalom. In Pada B'Shalom, we learned that Maimer 3 Maimarim ago. The Rebbe told us a big chiddush that every single mitzvah that every single Jew ever does, the hidden behind that mitzvah is an expression of the essence of the soul, the Jew's immutable connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's really the driving force behind that mitzvah, even though it might be expressed in all sorts of different garments. But behind it all is that. So the Rebbe is saying this here also, but it's in a much more obvious form because a miracle is happening. Aval shorsham, 6 lines up from the bottom, maybe 7. Aval shorsham hu mi'avayda la'elo. V'yesh lemer, shezeu gam mi'atamim, this is also one of the reasons, sheba maimer zeh, that in this maimer of the Frierdiker Rebbe, right? Tafresh Tzadiches, right? 1937. When the Frierdiker Rebbe said this maimer, the maimer upon which this maimer is based, right, in Poland, right before times became a little rough in Poland, this maimer is relevant to the position that the Yontif of Chanukah, Nikva, was established, also on the miracle of the war. Right? Remember that machlokes at the beginning of the Maimer. Was it just the Pach Shemen or also the war? That's fairly clear that we also relate to the war by virtue of the fact that in Al Anisim we barely mention the Pach Shemen. We don't mention the Pach Shemen. We mention that Hidliku Neres B'chatzos Kachecha. We lit candles. That's it. Right? But in Al Anisim, in my Chanukah in the Gemara, no mention of the war.
Does the Rebbe comment on the candles in Al Anisim? You've mentioned before that it's not referring to the candles of the menorah that we light for Hanukkah, but it's referring to the candles in the courtyard.
Sikha in Chelik Chaf Hey. Rebbe says you might even be able to say that when it says V'idliku neres b'chatzos kachecha, it's not even talking about the menorah because the menorah wasn't b'chatzos kachecha. Rebbe says that as an efshar leimar, it's possible to say. I mean, basically everybody understands that to refer to the menorah, and in other places the Rebbe says it refers to the menorah. But there in Chafei, when the Rebbe is trying to emphasize the fact that Al Anisim is all war, might even this line is Lav Dafka, the menorah. There's one little line in there about candles, might not even be the menorah.
It's not a for sure. It's like a
It's an efshar line. One sikha. That doesn't mean that it's not true and important, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the Rebbe only said it once. The Rebbe said it once. It matters, right? Moshe Rabbeinu said Shema Yisrael once. I think we take it seriously. Right? So if something's once in Torah, it still matters. So that's why we know that sikha. But Chafhei, L'kutei Sikha is Chafhei. The Chanukah sikha. I don't know. There might be more than one. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But if you look there, right, find the Hebrew translation. See, it's good to hang around in Lubavitch because there's Yiddish, and so then you always feel good. Oh, Baruch Hashem, it's in Hebrew. Because psychologically, that's an important thing. Oh, good, Hebrew, something I might be able to understand. Most people, oh, no, Hebrew, I don't understand that. I need English. No, Baruch Hashem. Hebrew's great because it's not Yiddish. Oh, fantastic. Yiddish, I really don't understand. You have to get there too, but it's levels. There's Etzim and Yehudi Law and Yehudi Tata, so, right? So that's Kai. Let's finish this paragraph. In order to hint, fifth line up, also the miracle of the victory in the war, Shayach, is relevant to Havaya Deleilu, the highest level. Why? Because the holiday is established also on the war. Meaning, the essential establishment of Hanukkah is on what miracle?
This number is the war.
Okay, but generally.
Oh, generally the oil lasting 8 days.
Right, 8 days, bidiyuk. And that's all Havaya Deleilu. Therefore, according to the position that says, no, also the war. They don't say only the war. No one says only the war. Otherwise, there's no reason to celebrate 8 days. Everybody agrees that the Nes Hashem is the Iker miracle, and I take that out, not Iker. That is a miracle that we celebrate on Hanukkah. But there's also a position that we also celebrate the war. And there's even a position that says the war is the Iker miracle. Why might the war be the Iker miracle? We said it at the beginning of the Mimer.
Without the war, you don't have.
Without the war, nothing else happens. Okay, you're fair, beautiful. Okay. So take out the Iker. Even according to those people who say also according to those people who say also the war, no one says only the war. Also the war? What are they hinting at? Also the war is Havaya Deleilu. Also the war is like the 8 days of oil. It's also coming from the same place. Right? That's what the Rebbe is saying here. In order to hint, also the nes of the victory in the war, Shaykh Havaya Deleilu, is relevant to Havaya Deleilu. The fact is that Yom Tov the Chanukah is Mispar Shmein. It's the 8th day. It's 8. The whole Yom Tov of Chanukah is all about 8. And what's 8? L'mayla mishtavshel, beyond the natural order. Havaya Deleilu in our language in this Mimer. Yemi de Chanukah tamnia inun. The first thing the Gemara says, right? When the Gemara says my Chanukah, and the Gemara, many of us in this room learned that Gemara, right? Some of us in this room learned that Gemara. My Chanukah, and the Gemara says Yemi de Chanukah tamnia. The first thing they say is it's an 8-day holiday. It's the first thing the Gemara says. Hu lefisha mispar zeh murder, because this number instructs, teaches al-or, a level of light, shalamayla mishtavshel, beyond the natural order. And the fact that the Yom Tov of Chanukah was established also, not only, also, the nes of the victory in the war, that's because, shagam hasharash, the nes, also the source of this miracle, I assume, I'll just say it because it's interesting, that the word sharash, I assume, is the source of the word source in English, right? It's the same word. The fisha gam has sharash, the source, the nes zeh, of this miracle, hu ba'or shalamayla mishtavshlus, is the level of light beyond the mishtavshlus. Okay? Now, let's just see where we're going with one line in Vav, and then we'll pick this up tomorrow. Okay, now, tomorrow I'm going to ask questions as to what our question is and how we started answering it, okay? And if no one knows, I don't know what I'm going to do. I might take my coffee and go sit quietly and learn some Chassidus in a corner over here. Ve'inyan hu, the Mesiris Nefesh of Matisyahu bon of Haisa. The Inyan is that the Mesiris Nefesh of Matisyahu and his sons Haisa was Shalachmu Neged Yevonim. Right, was that they fought the Yevonim, right? And even after we read that line on Thursday, even after they began this process of Mesiris Nefesh, or this reality of Mesiris Nefesh, they still had to go out and fight. I mean, the Mesiris Nefesh didn't happen in the middle of the battle. The Mesiris Nefesh was the impetus for the battle. Then they had to go out and fight, and there was a battle. So their Mesiris Nefesh was obviously on a level in which, meaning, Mitzad Echad, their Mesiris Nefesh is coming from the essence of their soul. That's what we say about their Mesiris Nefesh. That's why it's an 8-day holiday, and the war is also part of that 8 days. Meaning, the celebration of the 8 days. We don't celebrate Chavdal, but the war is part of that. It's the source of it. on a certain level. But there's still a menagid. There's still an opponent out there. Didn't disappear. The Greeks didn't disappear when the Chashmonaim were for bringing and made a hachlot and for bringing to go to war. Right? Okay. Be nice if the Greeks disappeared. Right? Similar to, I mean, it's interesting because I brought the Alter Rebbe as a mushal for no opponent